This is the story of way back when a man would emerge and a nation would emerge in a horrible deed. Many will call it insanity. Many will call it genius. However, there is nothing more to this than one desire to wipe out a certain race or a certain social class. I am talking about the eugenics program here in America and Adolf Hitler's genetics program. Now let's take a trip back in time, will we? Imagine everywhere around you, you're in a trench. Your buddies are dying, they're screaming, they're begging for help. You have no one to blame, you've been shot once, and just now a bomb filled with toxin poison has gone off right beside you. Now it's slowly eating at your brain, not killing you like it should. Well, this is the story of Adolf Hitler. It starts in World War I when the British launched their chemical warfare on Germany to push them back and keep them from taking over Europe. Well, after World War I, his brain was slowly being eaten by a toxin that the British had failed to concoct right in order to kill him. Now, he was not the only target. It just so happened that this one should have killed the most deadly person in history when it comes to the mass murder of a social class, of a race, and of a certain group. Now, later on in his life, Hitler would run for Chancellor of Germany, which he succeeded in, after many failed attempts. He associated himself with Catholics. This is part of his insanity. He actually went on, and since he had no one to blame for World War I, why not the Jews? I mean, that seemed like a good idea, right? He was Jewish, he was part Jewish, but his family disowned him. The side of his family that was Jewish disowned him. He was never treated right. He blamed the Jews for not being accepted into Vienna Art School. Well, that's where his genetics program came in. He hated being Jewish. He did not want anything to do with it. He wanted to get rid of it. So the main purpose of his genetics program was to extract the Jewish gene from the Jews and after he succeeded with that, try to extract his own Jewish gene. Now, of course, this did not work. Many people died in the process. His doctors found it fun. They were sadists. Of course they would. Hitler found it a necessary process in order to make him a pure race. Well, needless to say, this failed. Otherwise, you would be hearing about Adolf Hitler going, "Sieg Heil!" here in America, but he didn't, which is probably the best thing that could have ever happened to us. Now I'm going to take a leap into the 1800s, way back before we fought the Civil War. Eugenics is pretty much sterilization or selective breeding of a specific social class or a specific group of people. The South did it whenever they had slaves. They would take a strong male and a strong woman, and they would selectively breed them in order to create a strong black person who could work and work long. Well, after 1945, we kind of took it a little bit further. We started sterilization. If we decided that somebody was mentally corrupt or mentally unstable, oh, that's easy, sterilize them, that's it. Well, we didn't stop there. Young women who were raped were sterilized. Poor people, they were sterilized. If they were on welfare, here you go, you're sterile now, you can't have babies. We don't want you here, pretty much, is what they said. Well, this was a very effective plan in the order to get rid of anybody who you did not like. African Americans were primarily sterilized, probably because in the 1940s it was still hard for them to find a job. Therefore, they would be sterilized to be gotten rid of. It mainly had to do with their race. The same thing Hitler tried to do with the Jews. He tried it with the black people. He tried it with the gays. He tried it with everybody. He failed, and so did we. Now, this is not a particularly good idea. It actually flat out sucks. It's the worst idea in American history, but we still tried it. Why? I don't know. Perhaps it's because as Americans, we love a winner, and we saw people who had been raped, people who were poor, and people who just flat out who we just didn't give a fuck about as losers. Therefore, we took out the poor. We took out those who had been raped. We took out black people. We took out the mentally ill. We took out anybody who we believed did not have morals of our own standing. And then North Carolina kind of took it a bit farther. They let social workers just nominate people to be sterilized. So you don't like your neighbor, just write it on a piece of paper. Oh yeah, we'll sterilize them. We think that's a good idea. Here you go, no more babies for you. So pretty much, it's a crappy idea. It sucks. It's the worst idea in the history of the world. Nobody has succeeded at it. The Egyptians didn't when they tried to exterminate the Jews. Adolf Hitler failed when he tried to remove his own Jewish gene. And then we failed. Therefore, in the conclusion of this video, the simple solution is fucking stop it. That's all there is to it. Don't do it. Now, is it still going on today? Perhaps it is. We don't know. We didn't know it was going on in 1945. We definitely don't know if it's going on today, because now that would probably be a offense where some little girl's daddy came after you with a shotgun. So in conclusion, this is the history of Adolf Hitler's genetics program and America's eugenics program, in which we tried to eliminate a certain race, a certain social class, and a certain group of people who we just hated the piss out of. Thank you for watching.